What's up guys, this is Wenzes. Welcome back to my channel where we talk about personal development for INFJs and how to create an epic life on your terms. Today we're talking about INFJ dating again, in particular about how to deal with love bombers. I don't know if you've ever encountered one, you probably have. It's just that word or that expression, love bomber, doesn't say anything to you. Well, love bombing means that people are giving you all the attention, all the respect, all the love that you could only want, and they do it so immensely at the beginning, and then if you don't react the way they want you to, they completely cut you off. They really take you off that pedestal, and you get into this cycle of what have I done wrong? And in my experience, this is something that a lot of INFJs encounter because of our cognitive functions, because of our introverted intuition, because of the way we're set up. It's something I've experienced many times, and it took me a long time to understand how to deal with it, why this is happening to me, and what I can change in order to avoid those situations. Before we get started, I want to remind you, if you want to take the next step in creating your INFJ epic life and you want my help with it, then work with me privately. All my packages are full for this year, but for a trial period now for a month or so, I'm offering single sessions. So if you've been hesitant, now may be the time to actually try it out. So love bombing is something that I've heard over and over again the last years, but it's not something that I really paid way too much attention to. I sort of heard the word, then I watched some videos because I was interested in it, and I recognized that this is something that not only I have experienced, but a lot of my clients. And it's something that we just don't define as such. But if we do, it helps us to actually spin the whole thing and change the narrative. Because how often have you been in situations where you felt like, I don't know what happened, we had such a great connection, I met that person, we really hit it off, and then something happened. What happened? You actually became human. Love bombers are very often narcissists. It's not that this is one and the same, of course, but we know that we as INFJs have the tendency to attract narcissists, and attracting is always this word of, okay, what does this mean? Am I a magnet and the people are coming towards me even if I don't do anything? No. With every interaction we have, there are always two parties involved, and it never is the case that the other person is more in charge of this or more responsible for the situation than we are. So let's say you have a codependent INFJ on the one hand, and then you have a narcissist on the other hand. You might think, okay, this is all the narcissist's fault. The narcissist is doing all these bad things towards me. They're manipulating me. They're gaslighting me, and poor me, this is happening to me. Of course, this goes into victim blaming, and this is the last thing I want to do, because of course the bad person in that scenario is the narcissist. But what I'm saying is, if we were good with our boundaries, we wouldn't allow those situations to happen. If we would meet somebody who would just show the first signs of something like this, we would directly think, like, what is that? Like, I'm so not interacting with that. That person is not behaving in a rational way. I'm out of here. But very often we start questioning the way we behave and if we have done something wrong. And it can be in small situations, like when you have a friend who's just not calling you back, and then you wonder, okay, have I done something wrong? But it can also be in an extreme situation when you're just meeting somebody and there's like this connection and you feel like, okay, that could be a potential partner in my life. And this thing becomes very toxic. So why does this happen to INFJs so often? Or let's reframe this. Why do we INFJs get in situation and allow ourselves to be part of it? Well, one of the main reasons is, as I mentioned before, our introverted intuition, and the fact that if we're self-sabotaging, we're doing it in a way where we're neglecting ourselves, we're hollowing ourselves out. Other types, for example, if they're self-sabotaging, they might go out on a rage binge, right? They might get really angry, they might do things that are unreasonable, they might hurt other people through their actions or through their words. What we do is we take it in. We really try to take in all the pain, and we continuously hurt ourselves. And this typical thing that INFJs do is that we don't share who we really are. We don't want to rock the boat. We want to stay in the background. We want to observe the situation, understand other people better. And how can we understand other people better than to kind of like keep a low profile? I know where this is coming from, but think again. The NITI loop is a self-sabotaging mechanism. Why do we want to understand? Because of our TI, our introverted thinking, which is our third function. And the third function is always the hidden agenda of each type. It's the thing that we want so much that we completely overestimate and we very often go overboard with. So if we're not careful and we allow our mind to run wild, what does it do? It says, okay, in order for me to have any kind of meaningful relationship with another person, I want to understand them deeply. I want to focus on them. I want to make sure that they're happy, that they're taken care of, that we do what they like. Typical scenario is how you listen to music. Most of the INFJs that I have talked to that have not really worked on that part of themselves, when they're with another person, they rather listen to their music because they don't want to make them uncomfortable. They're way more willing, and I was the same way, to neglect what their preferences are in order to make the other person feel good. At the same time, if you would say, no, let's listen to my music or let's do the thing I suggest, then you take on responsibility for the overall fun. And if you do this, if you take on that responsibility, it also says that you are committed to putting any kind of SE into the world. It is something that is just part of the deal. If you say, okay, I'm gonna take on the responsibility of creating a nice get together, then you're the one who has to say, okay, we're gonna meet at 10 o'clock, we're gonna go out, we're going to have fun, and we're gonna do this and this and this. And you have to be willing to take on the chance that this might not be what other people like. But when you get to a point where you're really confident with yourself and you're good with your boundaries, you don't even care so much because this is what you want to do. You don't do that because you hope that through that other people will like you. You say, I'm doing what's fun for me. You know that if I go to that restaurant, this is something that I will enjoy. And so I put this forward. If other people don't want to do it, let's talk about it. Let's discuss it. But I'm not going to make that decision for them by not even mentioning what I want. So you might ask, what does that have to do with love bombing? Absolutely everything. Because if you're a person who's continuously focused on neglecting that part of yourself, of not bringing out your own personal qualities, and you're always focused on what other people want, you know what you're doing? You're neglecting self-love. You're neglecting the need of being appreciated for who you are, not for what you do. The need to be validated that you as a person are valid with all the things you like, your humor, the way you look into other people's eyes, whatever it is, that is uniquely you. And so often you don't give people the opportunity to see that. Why not? Because very often we're still at that phase where we're not used to giving ourselves this kind of self-love. And so when you're not used to this, because your actions don't represent things that you want to do, then you're starving for this. And the only way you actually experience this is if somebody else actively gives this to you. You're not giving it to yourself, so what other way is there? And this happens on such a subconscious level that you're not even aware of it. You become dependent on how other people view you, on how other people see you. And please be honest with yourself. This is not something that is obvious to everybody. When I was going through all of those things in my life, the last thing somebody could have told me is, you don't love yourself, you don't respect yourself, you don't care about yourself. I would have said, that's not true at all. And I honestly would have believed that. So just because you're in a position right now where you feel like, oh, this doesn't apply to me, be open to the possibility that it might. Because just because we tell ourselves this doesn't mean that this is the case. Because now that I've gone through this journey and I've really put an effort into giving myself that self-love, I'm still of course aware that there's always levels to this and there are always ways how I can improve my self-love, and this in itself then gets reflected in my life. But how did I start giving myself love? Well, it was choosing my preferences. It was saying what restaurant I wanted to go to. It was listening to my music. It was buying myself flowers. It was doing things that made me feel good. And in the beginning, you feel like, okay, but that's not gonna make me feel good. I don't really care. I don't care what movie we watch. I don't care what kind of music we listen to. Well, then start caring. Start practicing it. And it will only happen if you're the one who says this to you, who makes it a point. Because only then you can teach your mind to also want the things that make you feel good. Because your mind in the end, all it wants is to avoid pain. If you're not actively working on your mind, you will not get to this point. You have to actively do things, say things, and suggest things that go towards your preferences. Because when you don't, that's when those love bombers have the best opportunity. They see you, they talk to you, and they give you a validation you've been yearning for forever. You don't know what happened, and you probably probably don't even react in this situation in a way of, oh, this is the most amazing thing. Most of the time, you're not even being really aware of it consciously. But afterwards, you start going back to this. This is when your mind goes back to this kind of feeling. Because then, for the first time, somebody looked at you and really saw you. Somebody paid attention to who you are. Somebody gave you what you've been giving to others all the time and you never expect in return. But the problem with this is that if people give you this feeling right away, then it has absolutely nothing to do with you, because those people, they don't know you. They have put you on a pedestal. They have projected whatever they want to see in you. And the moment you start becoming human, the moment you start actually expressing who you really are, they get upset. They feel like, oh, okay, so that person isn't who I thought they were, and they completely cut you off. They either ghost you or they act in a way as if nothing ever happened. I've heard this from so many INFJs. And what do we do in that moment? It feels like we did something wrong. We didn't react fast enough. We didn't give enough appreciation back. It's our fault. That's the message we so often keep telling ourselves. But if you're focused on giving yourself that attention all the time, then first off, if somebody comes up to you and looks at you this way and talks to you this way, you're already so strong in your own self-love and in your own self-appreciation that you're not impressed by it. And that doesn't mean that people will stop projecting onto you or thinking that you're like whatever they think you are, which happens so often to INFJs because we can hollow ourselves out, because we can be so much of what other people want us to be. That's a gift, but it can also be a curse. The more you express yourself, the more you give yourself self-love by saying and doing and suggesting, as I said, things that are you, the less people can project onto you, the less that person can put you on a pedestal. The faster they're going to see, okay, she or he are all about this. This is who they really are. They express themselves. They are not really trying to do whatever makes me feel good, because every single time you do that, you're just presenting an image. And with time, you always have to keep up that image. And you don't want that image. That's not what made you happy. You want to be appreciated for who you are, including the fact that you can be that image. But that's all that is. You are more than this. And every single time you get actually addicted to this kind of dynamic, it's because we feel like that person really sees me for who I am. And it's dangerous because nobody can see you for who you are, particularly not if they have only talked to you for an hour or 30 minutes. Forget that. I know that we as INFJs always think we understand people right away, and to a big extent that's true, but in a lot of ways we haven't really seen what that person is about. We haven't seen all their qualities. We have gotten, let's say, 10 points of information and we have created an image around that. And the more you actually start focusing on you, the less of those information points you can actually gather. Like, this is a price we have to pay. If you focus more on yourself, you're going to focus less on other people and what they're about. But that doesn't mean that that in itself will not make your life more fulfilling. It will, because you create a base that is indestructible, a base that you know you're going to choose over and over again, no matter if other people like or dislike you. Because that whole love bombing and afterwards ghosting scenario happens because we base our self-worth on how that person reacts towards us, positively or negatively. And if we want to be somebody who's not open to this kind of behavior, if we want to be somebody who's stable in being who we are and loving who we are, you're not going to be open to neither one of those. If somebody really puts you on a pedestal, you don't take it seriously. You're not thinking about that. If somebody dislikes you afterwards, this has nothing to do with you. They have their way of viewing things. We're not necessarily focused on if other people like us. Like before, I remember I had a situation where I felt like, how can this person not understand my value? And nowadays, I know that they cannot. A lot of people will not be able to, and that has absolutely nothing to do with who you are. That has only something to do with who they are. If you choose to go that direction of self-acceptance, self-love, expressing yourself more, being open for people to judge you more because you're making people more aware of who you really are, you actually get to push people away who do not like who you really are, and you attract people who like who you are. But this only works if you make that decision that no matter who comes into your life, you will choose you. You will go the direction of your your choice. You will voice your opinion, your preferences, whatever makes sense to you. You will start loving your own preferences. I mean, imagine it like this. Before, when you haven't made that choice to focus on yourself, you are like this thing that can be taken away with a light breeze. If somebody comes into your life, you're focused on them. That's also the thing when we say, I'm willing to escape my life. Because there's no base here. There's nothing I will hold on to. If you don't stand for something, you fall for everything. And we as INFJs have to be aware that this is a tendency of ours and that this is not something that we have to be ashamed of or deny within ourselves, but to learn to accept it and to lovingly say to ourselves, I want better for myself. Because once you choose yourself, once you say this is the base and I'm not going to go away from this, I'm going to stay within this, then people can come into your life. They can add to your self-love, but they're not going to be the main focus of it. The main focus is you. You set the tone. You say this is the way I want to be treated, not by what you say towards those people, but by the actions you take towards yourself every single day. You set an example of how other people should treat you by the way you treat yourself. And that includes not feeling guilty for not living up to what other people want you to be. I really hope that helped you and inspired you. You got this. You deserve more. Remember, if you want to take the next step in creating your INFJ epic life, then work with me privately. Currently, I'm only offering single sessions, but it's only a trial period, so a month or so, and that's it. And if you want to watch another video now that is in line with today's topic, then watch the video on INFJ dating when you keep going back. Like always, guys, I wish you a wonderful day, a great week, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.